What's going on, noobs? I am Rory, the Perpetual Noob, and welcome back to another exciting Hollow Knight boss discussion. This is the 15th video in a series where I'll be discussing each boss of Hollow Knight, where we can find them, how we can defeat them, and how does this boss fit into the world of Hollow Knight. Today, we'll be talking about Hornet for the second time. It's been a long time since we last fought Hornet in Green Path. Just as we've been busy exploring Hallownest, so too has Hornet, though it seems she's rather been watching us. I hope the upcoming expansion of Hollow Knight that makes Hornet a playable character shows what she's been doing all this time. We find Hornet for this second fight to the far center right of Kingdom's Edge. We need the Monarch Wing's ability to reach this area. Hornet, once again, is standing around, as if waiting for us. As soon as we see her, she runs off, leading us to the arena. When we reach the arena, Hornet issues us a warning about the deeper truth of Hallownest, and what she will do to ensure that only one who is worthy would ever learn that truth. Then the gates go up, and the fight begins. Hornet will parry and riposte our attack. She does this attack only on the ground. The riposte covers front, above, and behind Hornet. Hornet will riposte not only a hit from our nail, but even a hit from the Thorns of Agony tendrils, and quite possibly any other source of damage. The window when Hornet will respond with a riposte is about half a second long, and that window starts when Hornet flashes white with a tink sound. Hornet telegraphs this attack when she crouches down and holds her needle at an angle above her head. She holds this position for nearly a second. In that time, Hornet flashes white, signaling the start of the parry. If Hornet is struck during the riposte window, Hornet crouches further to absorb the blow. The tink sounds again, and Hornet giggles before she swings her needle in that large arc. Let's call this attack the parry attack. Hornet will lunge at us with her needle. She can do this attack on the ground or in the air. Hornet will target us when she lunges. This attack traverses just over half the arena. Hornet telegraphs this attack when she bends forward and holds her needle behind her. She shouts and then launches towards us. The telegraph is the same on the ground as it is in the air. Let's call this attack the lunge attack. Hornet will throw her needle at us and then pull it back with gossamer thread. She does this attack only on the ground. Hornet's needle is dangerous going out and coming back, no matter which end touches us. Her needle will traverse about 75% of the arena. Hornet telegraphs this attack when she stands up, leans back slightly, and draws back her needle like you would if you were going to throw a javelin. Then, in an instant, Hornet shouts, leans forward, and lets her needle fly. Let's call this attack the throw attack. Hornet whips a gossamer thread around her in a swirling storm. This attack can happen on the ground or in the air. The storm lasts for about a second, and at its full range will occupy about half of the entire arena. Hornet telegraphs this attack when she goes horizontal and her clothing billows around. With a flash, she shouts, and the storm begins. Let's call this attack the storm attack. Hornet will leave spike balls around the arena, held up on gossamer threads. This attack will result in 2 or 3 spike balls appearing. These spike balls will remain until we touch them in some way. Hornet can do this attack multiple times, filling the entire arena with spiky balls. Hornet telegraphs this attack when she stands and brings her needle up, like she's winding up for a slash. Then suddenly, Hornet's needle disappears and thin strands of gossamer thread appear randomly in the arena. These threads have a little bundle on them. These bundles are where the spike balls will appear. Within half a second from the last bundle appearing, the spike balls will form. Let's call this attack the spike ball attack. Poor Hornet. The first time we fought her, we were unprepared. No upgraded nail, no extra hit points, no charms, and only Vengeful Spirit. For me, that's essentially nothing. This time, we had everything. Well, almost everything. We had a coiled nail, one level away from the highest level, the pure nail. We had 3 more hit points. We had tons of charms to choose from, and we had tons of experience fighting other bosses throughout Hallownest. 3 of Hornet's attacks are similar from our previous fight with her, and they can be mitigated the same way. Jump over the throw attack, and or use a downward slash to bounce off Hornet's needle, walk or dash away from the storm attack and lunge attack. But now, Hornet has 2 more attacks, she's more aggressive, and she is more mobile. Her parry attack didn't give me too much trouble because I tended to trigger her riposte either from a downward slash, which bounced me high enough into the air to avoid the riposte, or from Thorns of Agony tendrils, which meant I would still be in an invulnerable state thanks to taking damage previously, meaning the riposte would cut through me harmlessly. In essence, Hornet's parry attack wasn't dangerous because I was too busy taking damage before the riposte. Hornet's spike ball attack was more of an indirect attack. The spike balls forced me to adjust how I maneuvered around the arena, and that sometimes got me in trouble with Hornet's other attacks. I hardly took damage from a spike ball, but trying to deal with the spike balls tended to result in me taking damage from Hornet and her needle. It was Hornet's mobility and aggression that gave me the biggest trouble. I was most often hit due to an unexpected attack or jump, and those are what tended to bring me down to my last hit point. My equipped charms for this fight were Quick Slash, Wayward Compass, Gathering Swarm, Quick Focus, and Thorns of Agony. Quick Slash is probably the very reason I won this fight against Hornet on my first attempt. My nail was strong, and Quick Slash let me hit Hornet as often as possible. I had Wayward Compass equipped because I was just exploring Hallownest and didn't know I was going to find Hornet. And yeah, Wayward Compass doesn't do anything in a boss fight, but it does help us find bosses. Since I was exploring Hallownest, I was still using Gathering Swarm, which proved to be completely useless because defeating Hornet doesn't net us any geo. Quick Focus was also responsible for my first attempt victory. There were many times when Quick Focus's effect saved me from death, usually when Hornet was staggered. Hornet will get staggered 3 times during the fight, and that gave me tons of time to heal. I probably could have played things safer and not tended to wait until my last hit point before healing, though. And hey, Thorns of Agony was useful again! The double nail damage from the Thorns of Agony tendrils probably took care of half of Hornet's 700 health. Of course, that meant I got hit a bunch, but that's par for the course. Every spell has their use in this fight. Desolate Dive because of its damage and invincibility, Howling Wraiths because there are many times when Hornet will be above us, and Vengeful Spirit because many of Hornet's attacks don't cover the entire arena, so you could stay at a safe distance while still damaging Hornet. Don't forget to equip the Spell Twister charm to reduce the soul cost of your spells by about 27%, and or equip the Shaman Stone charm to increase your spell damage by 33%. Since Hornet is much more mobile now, another good option is the Nail Art Great Slash, to maximize nail damage in a short time, like those rare moments when Hornet is standing still. And a fantastic charm for nail arts is the Nail Master's Glory charm, which makes us charge our nail art twice as fast. I recommend upgrading the Mothwing Cloak ability to the Shade Cloak. The Shade Cloak is found at the bottom right of the Abyss, and it grants us the ability to safely dash through enemies and their attacks. You could be nigh invincible against Hornet if you had the Shade Cloak. I credit my victory heavily to my strong nail, so I recommend upgrading your nail at the Nailsmith, who resides at the bottom left of the City of Tears. And I highly recommend finding more charms and charm notches, and collecting mask shards to gain more hit points. Please see the Soulmaster video for a more in-depth general discussion about playstyles and charm combinations. Get ready to delve into the lore of Hollow Knight, and all of this lore makes me so happy to know that Hornet will be a playable character someday. The developer, Team Cherry Games, says that Hornet will have different quests, which will hopefully answer some of the questions surrounding her. Team Cherry Games has not announced a release date for this expansion yet. Hornet is one of the most integral characters to the future of Hallownest. Without Hornet, we can't actually even reach the true ending of Hollow Knight. Once Hornet is defeated again, we need to speak to her to continue. Hornet wonders if we can complete our quest once we learn the truth about Hallownest. When Hornet has said her piece, she leaps away just like she did after our first fight. This is the last time we'll fight Hornet. Now that we've bested her twice, Hornet knows we are physically strong enough, but there's still more to do to prove we are truly worthy. Beyond where we fought Hornet, deeper into Kingdom's Edge, we find a cave with an off-cast shell, and from this shell we find the King's Brand. When we acquire the King's Brand, the cave begins collapsing. We only escape thanks to Hornet. This shows that despite Hornet's misgivings, she still wants to see what we are truly capable of, and how we shall complete our quest. The King's Brand is just that. We are now marked as the King of Hallownest, and some of the friendly bugs of Hallownest will recognize us as such with new dialogue. However, most importantly, being marked as the King of Hallownest grants us access to the Abyss. It's here in the Abyss that we begin to learn about vessels and the Void. Remember the broken vessel discussion? The Pale King, the previous King of Hallownest, experimented and created thousands upon thousands of vessels, trying to create the pure vessel to seal away the infection and save Hallownest from utter destruction. Each vessel is comprised of a shell, which contains a small amount of the Void. The Void is an inky black substance. We can see this Void whenever we encounter our Shade after we've died, and we can see this Void all over the Abyss in the forms of the shades of the failure vessels, the inky black water, and the dark tendrils that erupt from that inky black water. These are all Void constructs. This is the truth of Hallownest Hornet warned us about, that thousands of vessels were created and subsequently unceremoniously discarded and left to rot away in the Abyss by the Pale King, all in an ultimately futile quest to stave off the spreading infection, to merely preserve Hallownest, not even to allow it to thrive. Every single vessel was a living, thinking, self-aware being, and they were created and destroyed en masse. Side note, Soul Master performed terrible experiments and the Pale King shut those down, but the Pale King somehow thought those experiments were worse than the experiments he performed? While we wander the Abyss, we can begin to embrace the Void when we change the Mothwing Cloak into the Shade Cloak. When we return to the top of the Abyss with our sexy new cloak, we can speak with Hornet again. She sees that we've started our journey to embrace the Void. It is this very fact that gives her hope, that perhaps we'll make the difficult choice, and rather than prolong Hallownest's existence in this horrible stasis, we will face the heart of its infection. Hornet wonders if we can unite the Void. Unite the Void? Well, there really hasn't been anywhere else in this series to talk about this, so here we go! To unite the Void, we need to journey all over Hallownest and complete many trials, like we're freaking Heracles or something. First, we need the Dream Nail, which allows us to learn the thoughts of others and interact with special parts of Hallownest, not least of which is the minds of the Dreamers. Then, we need to awaken that Dream Nail, which will allow us to access the dreams and thoughts of even the strongest creatures. To awaken the Dream Nail, we must collect 1800 essence. Nearly all living, and many dead, things in Hallownest contain essence. The best sources of essence are Dream Warriors, Dream Bosses, and Whispering Roots. These are spread throughout the world of Hallownest, and will require a lot of exploration to find enough to reach 1800 essence. Once we've awakened our Dream Nail, we can go to the White Palace. The White Palace is found in the far lower right of the ancient basin. There is a corpse lying here with dreamy floating bits. It is a corpse for a bug we've never seen before, and its dream can only be accessed with an awakened Dream Nail. Once we strike that corpse with our awakened Dream Nail, we're transported to the White Palace and greeted by a very active version of that corpse. The bug is a King's Mold, a guard construct built to defend the White Palace. Once we defeat this King's Mold, we can saunter right on into the White Palace to face its challenges. The White Palace is the former residence of the Pale King. The entire palace and the Pale King mysteriously disappeared sometime after the infection began spreading. The developers have hinted that the Pale King is still alive, but hiding somewhere. It's believed that the Pale King is the reincarnation of a Wyrm, a member of an ancient and powerful species that existed before Hallownest. This Wyrm, when it reincarnated into the Pale King, enthralled the bugs of Hallownest to forget about the first ruler of Hallownest, the first ruler being the source of the infection. That portion of Hollow Knight lore will be discussed in a later video. The White Palace is a terrifying place. It's like Super Meat Boy, but without the time aspect, and we're not saving a damsel. But it is here that we acquire one half of the King's Soul. Once we acquire this half of the King's Soul charm, we are returned to the real world, never again able to visit the White Palace. Perhaps it was this half of the King's Soul keeping the White Palace around on any plane of existence, and without it, the White Palace is lost forever. To acquire the other half of the King's Soul, we must venture to the Queen's Garden to visit the White Lady. She is found inside what looks like a large tree in the top left of the Queen's Garden. The White Lady is an ancient being. She speaks of the Wyrm, she speaks of the Hollow Knight, the creation of vessels, and of the infection, and that it is a power built of ages chained. The White Lady actually expected us, or at least one like us, so she could give us her half of the King's Soul. She recognizes us as a vessel and understands what our quest is. Due to this and what she tells us, it is believed that the White Lady is actually the Queen of Hallownest, wife, or at least lover, to the Pale King. Kind of makes sense since she has one half of the King's Soul and the other half was found in the Pale King's home. For further proof, the White Lady speaks of feeling the presence of her beloved if we speak with her once we complete the King's Soul. With the King's Soul complete, we are now able to visit the birthplace. There is an area below the abyss. Yeah, how crazy is that? It's in this area underneath the abyss, accessible only by using Desolate Dive at the bottom of the abyss, that we find, you guessed it, more corpses! It's here, in the birthplace, that we acquire the Void Heart. This is when the Void is united within us. This is when we transform into the pure vessel the Pale King tried to make all those years ago. This is what Hornet wanted to see, if we could obtain the Void Heart and become the pure vessel. To acquire this Void Heart, we must strike a black egg with our awakened Dream Nail. This transports us to a memory born seemingly of the Hollow Knight themselves. We have to do a little platforming and ascend to the top of the abyss. Throughout our ascension, corpses fall from the sky like rain, and we hear the words of the Pale King stating the qualities of the pure vessel. No mind to think, no will to break, no voice to cry suffering, born of God and Void. Once at the top of the abyss, we see the Pale King leading the Hollow Knight vessel, they're so teeny then, out of the abyss. But the Hollow Knight stops and looks back. Are they seeing us from that time? Or are they seeing us in that memory? Did we exist and were we still whole when the Hollow Knight was chosen as the pure vessel? It is this glance back that suggests the Hollow Knight was an impure vessel, because even looking back implied that the Hollow Knight had their own thoughts. When we meet Hornet in the abyss, she says that she is not like us, and that makes sense because Hornet has demonstrated free will, her own mind, and a voice. All things a pure vessel can't have, and all things we have not even demonstrated ourselves. We have united the Void within us. We have become a pure vessel. Does this mean that every action we have taken was predetermined? We're simply following orders? What about being from outside the bounds of Hallownest? What about the fact that we left, were expelled, sent away, Whatever from Hallownest. When were we created, and how are we passed over as the pure vessel, yet allowed to live? With the void united within us, we will find Hornet one last time at the Temple of the Black Egg. It is here that she directly asks us whether we'll prolong Hallownest's stasis or face the heart of its infection. And it is here that she directly states that she, us, and the Hollow Knight are all vessels, all created by the same process, but perhaps not all for the same purpose. There is one other time we can meet Hornet, and it is in Deep Nest. We will find Hornet after we have consumed Hera the Beast's power, if we have the King's brand before doing so. Hornet says she is not there to fight, but to mourn the passing of her mother. Hornet knows our intentions at this point, and she knew that we'd have to consume Hera to complete our quest. From what the White Lady tells us, we know that the Pale King and Hera created Hornet together. The White Lady calls it a dalliance. What? Is that a euphemism for sex? It is implied heavily that Hera had no love for the Pale King, or for much of the rest of Hallownest. Remember the Mantis Lords? The idea of Hera and the Pale King creating any life in the traditional sense seems unlikely. And we also know that Hornet is a vessel. However, it is never explained explicitly how vessels are created. Just that vessels are created by the Pale King from the void. Perhaps vessels were created by the Pale King committing some sexual act with other bugs? But wait. The White Lady mentions that she has bound herself for a particular reason. To quote her whole statement, "Do I seem prisoner here? If so, it's not by any choice but my own. These bindings about me, I've chosen to erect. There is some shame I feel for my own part in the deed, and this method guarantees its cease. I still feel that urge, you see. I always will. A voracious desire to spread seeds upon the land, to propagate myself, to breed." Did the White Lady and the Pale King breed all of those vessels in some sort of void-soaked sex marathon? Is this how Hornet was created? Through a void-soaked coupling between the Pale King and Hera? When we found Hera and struck her with the Dream Nail, she said, "For child, fair bargain made, give all for her." This strongly suggests that Hornet was a sort of payment to Hera from the Pale King to get Hera to join Monomon and Lurien as a dreamer to seal the infection. Lurien and Monomon were not strong enough together, so the Pale King turned to the one other being who was strong enough, Hera. But since Hera hated the Pale King, he had to offer her something. A child. A daughter. Hornet says she did not have much time with her mother. Could it be that Hera went to sleep as a dreamer shortly after Hornet's creation? Who knows what deal was struck between Hera and the Pale King, and, more importantly, who knows if the Pale King kept up his end of the bargain? Which makes me wonder, did the dreamers choose when to go to sleep? Or were they controlled by the Pale King to ensure they all went to sleep at the same time? If the latter was the case, then maybe the Pale King put Hera to sleep quickly after Hornet was created. Hornet mentions she owes Hera a debt, and it'll only be repaid by taking the burden of the future in her mother's stead. Hornet knows that by letting her mother die, she has now assumed responsibility for the fate of Hallownest, even if indirectly. So now Hornet knows that she must see the fate of Hallownest to the end, whichever choice we make. Hornet will be a part of our choice, somehow. And that choice and its consequences, for us, for Hornet, and for Hallownest, will be discussed in a future video. That's it for our boss discussion about Hornet for the second time. Thank you for joining me today, noobs. Stay tuned for future Hollow Knight boss videos. If you've got any thoughts about Hornet, either about the fight or about her as a character, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I am the Perpetual Noob, and I'll see you all next time.